And big breaking news coming in. These are inputs brought to us by our investigations editor Manoj Gupta when it comes to top intelligence sources that highlight that Chinese atrocities in Lhasa, as well as the Chinese Communist Party strategy to control the Dalai Lama's succession. The CCP wants to confuse the global public and delegitimize Dharamshala's religious authority is the strategy coming in from the Chinese government. The ultimate aim is to show China's soft power expansion in Buddhist majority regions. So when it comes to China's strategy in expanding influence in Buddhist majority regions, primarily in Asia and Southeast Asia, it aims to delegitimize the Dalai Lama. That is the plan going forward, and that is what has been accessed by top intelligence sources when it comes to China's game plan. To get more details, I'm joined by my colleague Akanksha Swaroop on the broadcast. Akanksha, over to you.
Ayushman, what Mr. Gupta's sources are telling us that the main tool has been ethnic engineering, and Han Chinese are now already forming a majority in Lhasa. And so there is also, the CCP ordering possession of the Dalai Lama's photos, which has happened over there. Damage was reported to religious sites. Over 6,000 monasteries have been destroyed since the year 1959. And so Lhasa functions under 24/7 digital surveillance of China. There are AI-enabled cameras, police informants, and PLAs patrolling. So Tibetan language is nearly removed from urban education, and Mandarin language has been imposed. Arbitrary detention, secret prison camps, and psychological torture tactics are reported widely by those who are exiled. All of this coming in by the Chinese people from Lhasa. Let's now cut to the CCP strategy of controlling the succession of the Dalai Lama. We must remember that that in 1995, the 14th Dalai Lama had recognized Gedun Choeki Nyama as the 11th Panchen Lama, the second highest figure in Tibetan Buddhism. China then appointed their own Panchen Lama, who remains a CCP-aligned figure, and that's very critical to note that they want the Dalai Lama to be somebody who's in alignment with the Communist Party of China. And China's goal is to announce a Communist Party-approved 15th Dalai Lama, as it contradicts that announcement coming from His Holiness. The strategy is to bifurcate the soft influence that is being wielded by India, especially with the Buddhist population in Nepal, Bhutan, Mongolia, and northern India, only to promote China's own chosen figure globally. And by controlling this reincarnation narrative, Beijing is seeking to fracture Tibetan Buddhism from within. There is an implication of the Chinese-controlled incarceration for India. China plans to select this new Dalai Lama. They want to do it, and as it shows, the earlier Panchen Lama power grab, and is also designed to erase the Tibetan resistance movement spiritually and equally politically. So the CCP's ultimate aim is to turn Tibetan Buddhism into a state tool to influence the geopolitics in the greater Himalayan region, Ayushman. It is bound to have spillover effects on the Indian territories like Ladakh, Sikkim, and Arunachal Pradesh, allowing Beijing to control the succession and end the Tibetan exile movement's legitimacy. Nonetheless, you see the kind of popularity that the Dalai Lama enjoys in India, the Tibetan Buddhists enjoy in India. Remember, India is home to 1 lakh exiled Tibetans, as was also being highlighted by the exiled Tibetan MP over there, and how they have been so grateful and thankful to India for supporting the Dalai Lama and for supporting all of those Tibetans and their political cause.
Absolutely. But Akanksha, when it comes to the battle of hearts and minds, the Dalai Lama still holds the edge when it comes to spiritual authority over global Buddhism. Despite China's attempts to create its own Dalai Lama, even after these kind of tactics of abduction and imposing a Dalai Lama for Buddhist followers across the globe, when it comes to hearts and minds, when it comes to faith, the majority of Buddhists around the globe have faith in the Dalai Lama, the current Dalai Lama, and will focus on his successor. So China is also on the back foot when it comes to the PR offensive, no matter what kind of tactics it uses to impose its own Dalai Lama.
Absolutely, Ayushman, because as I highlighted, and Mr. Gupta also does, that in 1995, the 14th Dalai Lama recognized Gedun Choeki Nyama as the 11th Panchen Lama, the second highest figure in Tibetan Buddhism. Within days, the child and his family disappeared was even abducted by Chinese authorities. China then appointed their own Gyaltsen Norbu as its Panchen Lama, who remained in alignment with the CCP. So this act in itself set the template for Beijing's imposition to choose the 15th Dalai Lama. And in 2007, the State Religious Affairs Regulation number 5 stated that all reincarnations of Tibetan Lamas must receive state approval from the Chinese CCP, which was also their way of legally codifying the control over spiritual leaders. And religious reincarnation is treated as a national security issue by them, tightly managed by the United Front Work Department and Ministry of State Security. Of course, China's goal is to announce a Communist Party-approved 15th Dalai Lama, but can they do so? As you said, that the hearts and minds it is the Dalai Lama, His Holiness, who rules the hearts and minds of the Tibetan Buddhists. And why so? Because it is only in the customs, in the conventions rooted in Tibetan Buddhism that the Dalai Lama can be chosen only after the passing of the previous one. And as the Dalai Lama has already announced that it will be chosen by his trust and that the institution of the Dalai Lama will continue, is a response and is a befitting response to Beijing, one that perhaps it's not able to digest.
Absolutely. Thank you, Akanksha, for joining us on the broadcast and decoding that for us. Now, while the CCP's ultimate aim is to turn Tibetan Buddhism into a state tool to influence geopolitics, it doesn't have the spiritual legitimacy that the Dalai Lama has. So no matter who they prop up as the next Dalai Lama, the spiritual legitimacy question still eludes the Chinese Communist Party.